love muffins, and welcome to relationship therapy. Anyways, happy belated Valentine's Day. Happy Valentine's Day, guys. I hope it was beautiful and that you loved it. And if you're single, I hope you had fun. And if you aren't single, I hope whoever you're in love with, that you made their day special. I'm looking at my notes, and clearly now we're in topic 3. We went through, just to give an overall overview of what we talked about already. We talked about topic 1, which is setting standards and being consistent. If you haven't seen that video, please go and check it out. Topic 2 is value yourself and know your worth. And we definitely talked about how taking care of you mentally, spiritually, emotionally, financially, everything encompasses a lot of things, and it will exude your confidence, and others can see that it would resonate. And today's topic, I'm gonna touch some nerves. It's be realistic and compromise. So being realistic and compromising, girl, what do you mean? Love is unselfish. It's not about you 24/7. Learn to open up. Not every battle is an argument. Embrace change. We're going to talk about that today. Let's get into it. Being realistic and compromising. What does that mean? No one man, no one female is perfect, right? It's silent in the room. Very silent. No one woman or man is perfect. So you got to get that out your head, okay? So being able to compromise, what does that mean? Well, first, let's just go back to being realistic. Being realistic is clearly, you have to understand that there's no perfect person out there. We all have flaws, where no one is perfect at all. However, there is someone out there that's specifically perfect for you. This goes back to what you want in a man or what you want in a woman. You have to create that list. Make sure your standards do not compromise with your list, but however, create that list. See, like, kind of write out what you kind of are looking for in a person, and whoever you interact with, whether you go on a date, get to know someone, you could gauge it. I'm not saying that everyone has to fill out that check on your list, but you can kind of gauge, okay, I'm feeling what I like, this is what I like, this is what I don't like. So set like realistic goals for your spouse or your mate. Basically, it is all about brain fart. You can't expect perfection in life. Life isn't perfect. You can't expect your significant other to be perfect because they're flawed. Everyone is flawed. So being realistic is just being able to have an open mind as to understanding that the other person cannot think, can't read your mind, they can't think like you. Everyone is different, you know what I mean? But the whole point of understanding and building a relationship is communication. If you are not feeling something a certain way, then you need to talk about it. Do not have high expectations, because your perfect person may be superly imperfect. Do not build a life or a dream life of what you think is going to happen and be very disappointed. Hence, I know this happened to me and I was highly disappointed. There is always going to be a void. The only person who can fill that void is Jesus Christ, okay? Your obligation to be in a relationship is to be able to help that other person, communicate with that other person, build that other person. When you are showing empathy to your spouse or whoever you're with, you'll be very surprised that it can be reciprocated back. Like, just the littlest things can make a big of a difference. Love is not about just taking all the time. Love is a compromise, okay? So that is exactly where communication comes in. It's not about you. Think about it. Both parties need to understand it's not about them. Especially when you get married, it's not about you. It's always about the other person and what we, not I, is what we both can accomplish together. Prime example, for me, it was very hard to leave my independence once I got married. I realized that I had to, things for me had to change. I was so used to going when I wanted to, coming when I wanted to, do whatever the heck I wanted to do. But now it's like when you're in a relationship, when you're married, you have to answer to someone. So sometimes it can be very frustrating, but that is where you have to be willing to understand that when you're in a relationship, you have to be willing to change. Like, and I think the reason why a lot of people are single is because they will never embrace change. But we have to really, we shouldn't settle. Go back to that video, watch it. But you shouldn't settle. You have to be able to know when there's an issue, and you have to be able to speak about it, and you have to be willing to grow and learn from it and move on. Have a conversation. Love is unselfish. It is not about you. It is about the other person. And it's hard. When you get married, marriage is hard. So many people's like, it's easy as everything. No, I need people to understand. When you get married, is not your wedding day. Your wedding day is just one day. Once you get married, you start living with that person, it gets real very quick. You know, you're sharing spaces with people. You start to see what makes the other person, like, you know, like get upset. You see, obviously you see like behavioral patterns. You see, honestly, a person in their real natural state. Like, don't be afraid to be vulnerable. I feel like so many people are afraid to get hurt that it's just like, I'm not gonna be the first one to do this. I'm not doing this. I'm not doing this. When it shouldn't be so subjective. It shouldn't be so about me all the time, because it's just not gonna work. So overall, love is really about picking and choosing your battles and what is important and what's not so important. I think it's really a whole balancing effect, as well as it's just honestly, it's consistently, you're constantly learning, but you have to be able to, it's like when the universe changes, right? When the world is changing, you got to go with the time, right? You got to change. As like, clearly we're going into a technology like driven type of world. Obviously the world is going in that path. So it's like the same with love. You have to be able to change. You have to kind of give a little. And by opening up doesn't necessarily mean that you're giving yourself away. You have to be able to give little bits of pieces of yourself so that the other person can be comfortable and as well share their heart with you. That's the whole point of communication. And it's the whole point of relationship, is being open, with being able to be vulnerable, being open with each other. It is a matter of understanding each other and how each person handles certain situations. So for example, me, if I get in an argument with my husband, when he gets on my last nerves and like we've really been going at it, he knows that he can't just come up to me and just be like, I'm sorry, and like think everything is like back to normal. For me, it takes me time to come down from like a heated situation. I need my space for a little while. I just need to come down. And once I come down from like just my intense emotions, then I feel like I can be rational and be able to speak, you know, and not just say irrational things off the cuff and off the mouth just because I'm angry. You know what I mean? So for that, my husband, in a sense, he had to learn how to just let me be and compromise whenever we get in an argument. He knows to give me my little time. And sometimes my time does take a long time. And if he feels like it's just, okay, you're doing the most, he will try to intervene. And for me, I already know that it takes me time to like cool down. But obviously, if I'm extending it a little bit too long, I will hear him out. See, and that's me compromising. So we can talk, because you never want to go to bed angry, right? So let's just give the whole rundown. How, Ayana, how can I be able to compromise? How can I be able to be realistic? And how can I be open to change? In order to have a relationship, or in order to even be able to get into a relationship, you have to be open to change. You have to be willing to want to change. And I know people want to say, I ain't changing for nobody. Well, that attitude ain't gonna get you wiped up, boo. Just saying. And vice versa for a man. You know, like, a man needs to be able to understand that sometimes we as women, we are emotional. I'm sorry, feminists out there, but it's true. We tend to be emotional sometimes. Men too. But men, I feel like, should take the high road. You know what I mean? And just, you know, let her be for a little bit. You know what I mean? I'm not just saying, okay, let her do her own thing, like, and it's crazy, something like out of the extreme. But you have to be able to be willing to, you know, say, all right, I'm gonna just let this slide. I don't think that we need to argue about this like anymore. You know, I love you. This is what it is. I just felt this type of way, and we're just gonna move on. You have to be able to be the bigger person, and females as well. You have to be able to admit when you're wrong. You have to be able to say sorry when you don't want to. And I think that's the whole point. Sometimes love is so hard, and trying to be in a relationship is so hard because you don't want to be vulnerable. You don't want to feel like you're losing your power or your strength. That is not what love is. It's not a competition. It's not a battle between both parties. Honestly, it's about both parties coming together, understanding that they're flawed human beings, and they're willing to grow together and build something together, and are willing to accept constructive criticism from both parties, and are willing to search within themselves and say, you know what, maybe I need to change this about myself. You know what, maybe you're right. I think I do need to work on a few things about this. Maybe my attitude does need to change in this area. Maybe the way I dress, you know, it's a little out there. I guess I will be a little more conservative, or I will be open to this new direction that we're trying to go. So love is not just taking from someone and only taking, and just you're only taking, another person's not receiving. It's both. It's a give and take, and it's overall a compromise. And you have to be, in order for you to feel that you want to be loved, you have to be able to be open to getting rejected. You have to be willing to be open to the good and bad of what it takes to be in a relationship, and going through heartbreak, and experience the highs and experience the lows. Because at the end of the day, relationships are hard. It's nothing easy about a relationship. It is the fight. You have to constantly fight for your marriage. You have to constantly fight to remain happy with your relationship. You have to fight to keep the exhilaration, the fun, the excitement in your relationship. You have to want that. You have to want to be best friends. You have to be able to communicate. That's the whole point. There's gonna be people out there that's just chatting, talking. And you have to be able to shut that down. You have to be able to keep focused on the prize. Do not share your relationship quarrels with your friends or your peers or your family, for that matter. Do not discuss your relationship business or your situations with anyone. You want to talk about it? Write it in a journal. You want to talk about it? Go to counseling. You want to talk about it? Talk to yourself. Whatever floats your boat. Pray. How about that? Perfect. pray. But be very cognizant in sharing issues with friends and family, because once you forgive your man or once you forgive your woman, then they're the ones who's like, really, she did this, that, and the third, and you just gonna like do this when you already passed that. You see what I'm saying? You don't want people in your ear. And honestly, that's what can sometimes like rock the foundation in a relationship. You got to keep it to yourselves. It's sacred. It's between you and your boo and the Lord. That is it. So to just conclude, you have to be able to embrace change. You have to be able to open up, share yourself, not like clearly giving yourself away to just anybody, but being willing to share each other's hearts, your goals, your dreams, your aspirations. Obviously, I say sometimes your dreams, you don't have to tell everyone about it, but be able to have that just honest conversation. Be able to express how you're really feeling. Remember, no one can read your mind. Compromise. Be willing to embrace change, even when it's very uncomfortable. Be willing to fight for your relationship and not give up. Be willing to take an oath before God if you want to get married, and fight for your marriage, and don't be so quick to get a divorce because we can't get along or we can't understand a situation, or it just feels like, you know, right now we're just on hard times and I just don't see the situation turning around. You don't know why you go through certain situations. Every situation is there to build you up, to make you stronger. It's to prepare you for something greater. So in order to get your man, you have to be willing to compromise, never settle, be open to change, and do not engage in unnecessary arguments. Pick your battles wisely. I hope this touched your heart, and I hope that I was able to, you know, pour in some wise wisdom into your life. Don't forget to subscribe for me, and we will definitely continue the conversation in my next video. So I'm trying to be consistent, guys. Hello, I'm working. I have to give it all the way up to all my YouTubers out there, because this is definitely a grind and it is hard. So definitely kudos to all the YouTubers out there, because it's hard editing videos and everything while working. It's a lot. So I give props to everyone out there that's killing it right now. Hope you enjoyed. Subscribe for me.